Morning, everyone. And welcome into this day here at Quimper Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Some of us are bringing our best selves to this space, and some of us are bringing our struggling selves. All of us are welcome here, and all of us are loved. Some of us already have open hearts, and some of us aren't quite there yet, because our hearts have gotten a little bit or a lot beat up this past week, and we might have forgotten how to be trustful and open. Your heart is welcome here, no matter how bruised. All of us are imperfect, but we're here to drop our defenses and trust that what happens here today in worship is powerful and life-giving. Together, we affirm that this day and our being together can make each other braver, more compassionate, and wiser than when we woke up this morning. We are welcome here. My name is Liesl Slaybaugh, and I'm a member of the board here at QUUF. As we gather, I acknowledge that the water, land, and shorelines here in Port Townsend are the traditional territory of the S'Klallam and the Chemakum peoples. We honor and acknowledge our Indigenous members and neighbors, and we vow to help restore and sustain their homelands. If you are visiting today, I offer a special welcome to you, and I invite you to join us for conversation and coffee and refreshments in the fellowship hall, right to your right, out through the lobby. And we do have a newcomers table. You might have noticed it as you came in by the doors out to the patio, and there's greeters there that are ready to answer any questions that you might have. We're so glad that you're here this morning. Welcome. I have just a few announcements before we get started. First of all, our lovely flower arrangement today was donated by Kathy Stevenson, thank you, and Mike Morrissey, in honor of Kathy's parents, Marjorie and Donald Stevenson. This coming Saturday, which is October 21st, is our annual Harvest Festival, 4:30 cider pressing, 5:30 potluck. And those of you who have been to this event know that the big height and the climax of it is the vegetable car races, usually made from zucchinis. So bring a potluck dish and a vegetable with to construct a car. Like I said, I recommend zucchinis or winter squash work well. And join us for one of the most fun events that we have in a year. I attended many, many times with my own children and loved it. It's hosted by the Green Sanctuary and the RE Committee. October is our Wave Food Drive month. This is our interfaith effort to every fall to support our local food bank. You can drop off food in the RE Breezeway all month long, or you can just bring it on the day of the food drive, the Wave Day, which is Saturday, October 28th, between 10 and 2 p.m. I want to introduce another speaker. It's my honor, Rose Spritzer. Rose is back this week with some very exciting auction news.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rose. Are you excited about the auction? Yeah! That's wonderful. You know, it's really more than an auction. It's QUUF's biggest fundraiser by far, and it's a way to connect with each other. Each year, members and friends donate thrilling goods and services, and we're hoping to raise $25,000. All the proceeds support the work of our mission here. It's the perfect way to get involved at QUUF, as well as share your passions, your interests with friends both old and new. The auction is also a chance to be together. I'm feeling warm and fuzzy just thinking about it. But now on to the auction news. The Camp Bid-A-Lot auction event will be Saturday, November 11th at 6 p.m. One of the highlights will be an epic camp-themed slideshow, and you have a chance to be in it, but we need your help. The goal is to have pictures of our wonderful members and friends with or without a camp theme. And so please send a picture of yourself to selfie@QUUF.org by October 27th. On a more serious note, I've been told there are concerns about the donations this year. Will we get enough donations? Do people know the deadline to turn in donations forms is next Sunday, October 22nd? And what if the donations stink? Hey, who wrote that? That's nonsense. QUF is important to people, and those who can will donate. And I predict we'll have an embarrassment of riches. You could partner with friends and host a picnic, a game night, a themed dinner, a New Year's Eve party, a Halloween party, or an ice cream social. How about teaching a class, tango lessons, art, or a foreign language? I personally may offer a make-your-own potpourri class, or maybe aromatherapy. Overnight stays, outdoor games, movie and pie nights, boat rides, hikes, paintings, and more. Some wonderful donations have already come in, including tickets to the second annual Corn Toss tournament. Tickets for the event on Saturday, November 11th, 6 p.m. will be available before and after Sunday services starting today and available in the office during the week. The suggested donation is $15. It's free for kids, for people under 18, and there is childcare also. You can use a check or cash to pay. Now, please get your thinking caps on. We need lots of donations. Remember, the deadline for submitting donations is, say it with me, next Sunday, October 22nd. That's next Sunday.
Is it next Sunday?
Next Sunday.
Oh, thanks.
The link to donation forms is in the Friday update, on the website, and on the auction bulletin board by the office. With your help, we'll have a sensational auction. Thank you.
That was a spunky, skunky announcement. Thank you, Rose. Now, let us settle our minds and calm our hearts.
The summer kisses, the sunburned hands. Good morning. Our opening words are from Gordon McKeeman. We are called to worship, not by words spoken, but by miracles recalled. A baby's first cry, the petals of a rose, the templed hills, the restless tides of the sea, human love, human hope. We respond with gratitude, with joy, and with wonder at life's boundless possibilities. We are called to worship. It is good to be together. Will you join me in saying the words for the lighting of our chalice? When the great mosaic of humanity is treated with respect and dignity, when no person is threatened by hunger or hunger, when we have extended hospitality to the stranger and tended to the sick, then we shall all be free. We light this flame to hold our strength until we And so our chalice is lit. Let's join in singing. Our first hymn today is My Life Goes On. The words will be in front of you. Off you go.
Please stand as you are able.
Through all the doom
It's the time for all ages, so I invite any children who might be present, any childlike people who might be present. I'll take childish people along with that. Any of y'all who might want to come up? All right, we have a few folks coming up. Thank you. Nice to see you. I'm not going to ask you to identify yourselves as childlike, childish. Yeah, good. How you guys doing today? Do you remember what's next week? I know Bo talked to folks about it last week. Does anybody remember? It's the Harvest Festival, and it's going to be rockin', and you should come. Good to see you all this morning. I have this wonderful book about inventing things and making things and how we do that. And so it's called The Most Magnificent Thing. And it's about this regular girl. This is a regular girl and her best friend in the whole world. They do all kinds of things together. Good choice. You can see it much better if you're down this way. Do you want to see it better? That would be awesome. Okay, so they do all kinds of awesome things together. They race, they eat, they explore, then they relax. She makes things. He unmakes things. One day the girl has a wonderful idea. She is going to make the most magnificent thing. She knows just how it will look. She knows just how it will work. And all she has to do is make it, and she makes things all the time. Easy peasy. Any of you guys make things? I was not much at making things when I was little. First, she hires an assistant. How do you think that dog's going to do? Next, they gather their supplies. They set up somewhere out of the way, and they get to work. Does that look out of the way to you? Anybody, you think? I think she's doing a good job, though. The girl tinkers and hammers and measures, while her assistant pounces and growls and chews. When she's finished, she steps back and admires her work. She walks around one side. Her assistant examines the other side. It doesn't look right. Her assistant picks it up and gives it a shake. Doesn't feel right either. They are shocked to discover that the thing isn't magnificent or good. It isn't even kind of sort of okay. It's all wrong. The girl tosses it aside and gives it another go. Do you think she'll get it this time? Anybody? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. Let's see. She smooths and wrenches and fiddles. Her assistant circles and tugs and wags. When she is finished, she stands up and takes a long look at it. Her assistant gives it a nudge. The thing is still wrong. She decides she'll try it again. The girl saws and glues and adjusts. She stands and examines and stares. She twists and tweaks and fastens. She fixes, straightens, and studies. Will that be enough? Apparently, there we go. I was going to say, apparently that's one fat page, but it's not. She tries all different kinds of ways to make it better. She makes it square, she makes it round, she gives it legs, she adds antennas. She makes it fuzzy. She makes it long, short, rough, smooth, big, small. One even smells of stinky cheese. But none of them are magnificent. I'm getting sad. Are you getting sad? Anybody getting sad out there? This is pretty sad. Her hard work attracts a few admirers, but they don't understand. They can't see the magnificent thing that she has in her mind. She gets mad. Oof. The angrier she gets, the faster she works. She smashes pieces into shapes. She jams parts together. She pummels the little bits in. Her hands feel too big to work, and her brain is too full of all the not right things. If only the thing would just work. Have you ever gotten there? been making some art and it just isn't doing it. So what happens? Crunch! The pain starts in her finger. It rushes up to her brain and she explodes. It's not her finest moment. I'm no good at this. I quit. Her assistant suggests a walk. It's not much help at first. Before long, she starts to feel different, though. Bit by bit, the mad gets pushed out of her head. I think I'd like to get a cookie when I'm feeling mad like that, too, huh? Does that work for anybody else? Yeah, okay. We're all on the same page here. As they stroll along, she comes across the first wrong thing she made. The bad feelings are about to start over again. Then she notices something surprising. There are some parts of the wrong things that are really quite right. The bolts on one, the shape of another, the wheel to seat ratio on the next. There are all sorts of parts that she likes. Who saw that coming? Here we go. By the time she reaches the end of the trail, she finally knows how to make the thing magnificent. She gets to work. She works carefully and slowly, tinkering, hammering, twisting, fiddling, gluing, painting. Her assistant makes sure there are no distractions. But look what else is going on. He's picking something up. He says, "This is the perfect thing to ward off bears." And she says, "This will stop that leak." And he says, "This one's all wet." The afternoon fades into evening. Finally, she finishes and she alerts her assistant. The pair take a good long look. It leans a little to the left and it's a bit heavier than expected. The color could use a bit of work too, but it's just what she wanted. They climb aboard and take it for a spin. They are not disappointed. It really is the most magnificent thing. And that's our story for today. One of the things we're going to be talking about in when the adults are here with me, while you all go off and have a lot of fun, is we're going to be talking about someone who kind of gets that mad thing and runs away and then comes back. And this story just really fits with him. His name's John Murray. But in the meantime, before I do that, I'll ask the folks in the congregation to rise and make an arch. And let's sing the children out.
We pause now for a time of generosity to receive an offering for the support of this congregation, Quimper Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. For those of you in the sanctuary, the ushers will come among you to collect your donations. For those of you online, either now or later in the week, please consider donating via the suggestions that are on the screen or on our website. And while we express our generosity, we have Terry and Chris playing the Ashokan Farewell by Jay Ungar. Thank you, Chris and Terry. That was beautiful. And thank you all for your generosity. This time in our service is set aside for our joys and sorrows. We recognize that our personal joys and sorrows are only a fragment of the joys and sorrows of the larger community of life. Thus, we place this first stone, thinking in particular of the outbreak of the war in Israel and Gaza, the loss and terror that has reverberated around the world. And now within the congregation. This first candle is for our new accessibility pathway that's been completed. And there'll also be the welcoming onto the sidewalk will also be added back in soon. Watch for that. A big thank you to David Covert and the rest of the facilities and oversight and safety team who made it all happen, and the board who was really quick to approve it, and also to the Widening the Circle committee who in their work have been looking at all the ways that we can be more inclusive and accessible to ourselves and to our visitors and to our neighbors. This next candle is for Peter Tietz, a member. I don't know if you see a member.
No.
Not, yeah. Very closely related to us as the husband of Linda, who had successful surgery last week, which we were delighted to hear about, and also for you to know that the recovery is going well. And this last candle is for Ann Nelson, who died this past week. Ann and her husband Ralph joined QUUF a little bit before COVID, expecting to move here and never quite made it, but continued to be supportive of us and paying attention. And every time I spoke to Anne, she was very positive and spoke very fondly of QUUF. So to Ralph and family and friends, our blessings to you for Anne's death. And we place a final stone, holding in our hearts the joys and sorrows that we've just shared, but also thinking of those joys and sorrows that are unexpressed, but of no less importance.
I invite you now to take a deep breath and settle in a bit as we come into a time for reflection and meditation, or just stillness as you are most accustomed to it. I'll offer a prayer written by the Reverend Drew Payton, who is a Presbyterian minister, but it speaks to this week and some of the tragedy and terror that are going around this week. Let us take a deep breath, close your eyes if that's comfortable, and these words. If ever they ask you, which side are you on? Tell them plainly, I side with the people, with the precious ones, all, the integral, the soft and the fierce, irreplaceable, the beloved, if only by God and trees, the people who were born, who breathe and survive. Say, I side with those who keep watch beneath the bright, screaming arc of bombs, with those who hide in dark doorways, or those who through the moonlight flee, with those who stay and fight, and with those kept up at night by hunger and grief and terror and rage, by desperate, unruly hope, who are good and green at the root, who are more than the worst thing they've done, who do their best to love and still pass on the hurt in themselves that they hate. But what when they take sides against each other, the people against themselves? Side with whatever is human in them, what is fragile and feeling and flesh, side with the truth of our stories, side with the fact of our pain, side with defiant insistence on freedom, side there again and again, side there today and tomorrow, side there for the rest of your life, side there together until we belong each one to every other. If they ever ask you, which side are you on, say, it doesn't work like that. Tell them you side with the people and abide where the people are at. Let us pause in stillness together. So may it be. Amen.
Thank you, Linda, for your prayer and for all your words that touch us deeply. This morning's reading is by Marge Percy, To Have Without Holding. Excuse me. Learning to love differently is hard. Love with the hands open wide. Love with the doors banging on their hinges, the cupboard unlocked, the wind roaring and whimpering in the rooms, rustling the sheets and snapping the blinds that thwack like rubber bands in an open palm. It hurts to love wide open, stretching the muscles that feel as if they were made of wet plaster, and then blunt knives, then sharp knives. It hurts to thwart the reflexes of grab and clutch, to love and let go again and again. It pesters to remember the lover who is not in the bed, to hold back what is owed to the work that gutters like a candle in a cave without air, to love consciously, conscientiously, concretely, constructively. I can't do it. You say it's killing me, but you thrive. You glow on the street like a neon raspberry. You float and sail, a helium balloon, bright bachelor's button blue, and bobbing on the cold and hot winds of our breath. As we make and unmake in passionate dystole and systole, the rhythm of our unbounding bonding, to have and not to hold, to love with minimizing malice, hunger and anger, moment by moment, balanced.
You have other skills. What am I going to do here?
Okay, so you are welcome to sing along. I think there are going to be words posted on the wall. Yes? And there are. The thing about these is it's kind of a tongue twister. But go ahead if you want to try it.
There is a chorus, so you can always come in on the
Yeah.
chorus. Ready?
Okay. John Murray sailed on the Hand in Hand, and his ship got stuck on a bar of sand. So he put on his boots and he reached right land to preach the gospel of love, 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 love. He put on his boots and he reached dry land to preach the gospel of love. Now Thomas Potter had a church built there, but still that church was bleak and bare, 'cause no preacher had come, despite his prayer, to preach the gospel of love, 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 love. No preacher had come, despite his prayer, to preach the gospel of love. Thomas Potter offered hospitality, so John Murray wouldn't go back to sea. He said, "Man, won't you come and preach for me? Yeah, preach the gospel of love, 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 love. Won't you come and preach for me? Preach the gospel of love." The winds of change blow hard and strong, and I don't think I'm gonna be here that long. If I'm here on Sunday, I'll come out strong and preach the gospel of love, 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 love. If I'm here on Sunday, I'll come out strong and preach the gospel of love. So the Hand in Hand stayed close by the shore, so John Murray couldn't run away no more. Thomas Potter's chapel flung wide the doors as they preached the gospel of love, 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 love. Thomas Potter's chapel flung wide the doors as they preached the gospel of love. Thomas Potter's chapel flung wide the doors as they preached the gospel of love.
Man, we are weird. It's one of the nicest things about us, I think. My goodness. Ambrose Bierce. Y'all know Ambrose Bierce, the Devil's Dictionary. Yeah, some of us love that. It's a wicked and deeply satirical volume of definitions. He had something to say about both sides of our religious heritage. About Unitarians, he quipped that we were those who deny the divinity of Trinitarians. About Universalists, he wrote that we are those who forego the advantage of a hell for people of another faith. Thomas Stark King, another Unitarian and Universalist luminary, a preacher as well, and he knew about Unitarians and Universalists and noted that Universalists believed that God was too good to damn them, and Unitarians believed themselves too good to be damned. Neither of these commentators noted that we like to laugh, which is unfortunate. The two denominations merged in 1961, and our Unitarian heritage kind of had the upper hand. At that time, it was a larger denomination. And it became common to call Unitarian Universalists just Unitarians. And when I got to seminary in 1980, I grew up as a Unitarian Universalist, but always called myself a Unitarian, as did both of my parents. When I got to seminary in 1980, I forced myself to say all 10 of those syllables, and I did count them out on my fingers last night. And it finally became normal and natural for me. I moved to England in 2007 to serve a congregation there, and they have a different history to us, and they are just Unitarians. Well, actually Unitarians and Free Christians, but they call themselves Unitarians mostly. And so I had to stop saying Universalist. So I'd say Unitarian, and it'd just have to stop. Then I came back to the US, and I had to go through it all again. Seminary also gave me my first taste of Unitarian and Universalist history. As I discovered more about our history, I found a deep resonance with Universalism and a profound connection to this challenging faith. The two quotes I mentioned earlier are not wrong completely. Universalism is that understanding that God so loves humanity that all are saved, that there is no one who is left out, that if there is a heaven, we are all there, and we are one of a single community with everyone. It was 253 years ago, just 2 weeks ago, that John Murray arrived in New Jersey from England. Now, Murray is often called the founder of Universalism in the United States, and his arrival is celebrated as the start of our thread, that thread of our faith community. This is a story I've loved for many, many years. You got a bit of the taste of the story in the song, which I'm grateful for, even if it is a heck of a tongue twister. I was like, dang, that's good. But I want to tell you a little bit more about why we have called this a miracle. So we start back in England. John Murray, in his young adulthood, became a preacher of the strict and punishing Calvinism of his childhood. But as he did, he also found that he was drawn towards the more gentle teachings of Methodism. John Wesley was still around at that time, the founder of Methodism, as you may recall. And he spoke of how his heart was strangely warmed as he heard the teachings about the changes that Jesus could bring in his life and in the lives of believers. And he experienced an assurance of salvation, a sense of personal connection to the divine. This was the community that Murray first connected with as he began to transform. He learned about the teachings of John Relly, a Welshman, who went so far as to say that everyone was a part of the mystical body of Christ and that none could be lost. It's a profound teaching for that time in the religious world. It was dominated by punitive theologies, right? Calvinist and Catholic theologies that were all born into sin and can only be saved from an eternity of torture and hell, if you will, by being chosen before birth as one of the elect, or by following a rigid plan to gain salvation through rituals controlled by priests. Imagine in that context, finding the sense of relief when you discover a faith that acknowledges a primal blessedness, an overwhelming promise of wholeness and goodness. It was radical. And that was the faith that inspired John Murray, that enlivened him and gave him hope. And indeed, while he was a good preacher, there really wasn't a living to be made in that work. So he tried and failed at many different enterprises, racking up debt upon debt. After his conversion to Universalism, his life was chaotic and painful. The Dictionary of Unitarians and Universalists sums it up like this: his only son died in infancy. His wife also died, and soon after that he learned of the deaths of 4 of his siblings. He was thrown into a debtor's prison. Although he was rescued by his brother-in-law and eventually paid his debts, he remained too depressed to engage in the preaching that Relly had urged upon him. At that time, he wished, quote, to pass through life unheard, unseen, unknown to all, as though I had never been. In 1770, he resolved to quit his old life in the old world and to start afresh in the new. So unlike what the song told us, he didn't actually go to the New World, to the United States, which wasn't the United States at that point. Never mind. he didn't go to preach. He actually went to find a different life. And here begins the story, the miracle story, the single miracle story of Unitarian Universalism. Murray set sail on the ship, the Hand in Hand. Sometimes it's also been reported that it was God's hand that took him on his way. And he headed to New York. The ship went off course as it was coming across and grounded off the shore of New Jersey. Whew. It's just a morning, y'all, near what is Tom's River. Now, you might not know that this part of the country was settled largely by free thinkers and religious rebels, including some Universalists, Thomas Potter being one of them. And he had been so convinced that the gospel of universalism would save the world that he had built a chapel for the purpose of having that word preached. Not yet, right? When the ship grounded and it became clear that he would not be able to leave, John Murray would not be able to leave, until the tides rose and the winds changed, all of the passengers went ashore to find housing wherever they could. And guess who knocked on Thomas Potter's door? One version of the story has it that Potter opened the door and asked, "Are you the Universalist preacher I've been waiting for?" Another has it that Murray admitted to being a preacher over dinner. Either way, Potter wanted Murray to stay until Sunday and preach. Murray said that he would preach if the ship hadn't left by then, and by some miracle, the winds stayed still, and Murray ascended the pulpit of that small chapel in New Jersey and preached the gospel of universalism that day. The chapel still exists to this day on the grounds of Murray Grove Camp and Conference Center. I went to summer camp there one summer in junior high, and I have stood in that chapel. The marker that's there reads, "Near this spot first met Thomas Potter, the prophet, and John Murray, the apostle of universalism. The following Sunday, September 30th, 1770, in Potter's Meeting House, Murray first preached in America. The wilderness and the solitary place were glad for them." Murray spent 4 years in that area and then went on to settle in Gloucester, Massachusetts. He married Judith Sargent, and the two of them built Universalism into a dynamic, loving denomination by expanding the institution and by their fierce evangelism. Our Unitarian history often takes center stage, and Universalism is over on the side of the not as well-loved child at times. But my first congregation that I served in Woodstock, Vermont, was the North Universalist Chapel Society. Even with that name, people in town, in the village, called it the Unitarian Church. We worshiped in a beautiful white-clapboard building with a spire that held a Revere bell in it. Within a 15-minute drive of that place, there were 5 other Universalist congregations. Not all of them flourishing, but the South Chapel, actually, which was just a few miles away, was no longer functioning as a congregation, but it was a community center, and they always had the minister of the North Chapel come down and do their Christmas pageant. One of the folks in my congregation told me that in Vermont, there had been as many as 200 Universalist congregations. Do y'all know how small Vermont is? I mean, this is just kind of amazing. And it was due to that evangelical zeal that Murray and his wife, who were partners in that ministry, brought out to the people. Another fun fact about Murray that I just learned recently is that he served as one of the first chaplains in the Revolutionary War, appointed by George Washington. Washington appointed him and noted that he was a full chaplain and was to be respected as such. The message that this is all about, that the heart of universalism, is one that is essential and has become much more central to my own theological position as I have aged. The belief in the essential blessedness of all humanity, the essential blessedness of all humanity is radical. It runs counter to our human propensity to divide and rank each other, to create separation between ourselves and those who don't look like us, or those who don't believe like us or vote like us. In these times, it might be a worthy exercise to preface any mention of someone you're disagreeing with, in conflict with, or a politician who makes your skin crawl, with the preface of prefacing their mention with "my friend." I have to say, a friend of mine did this back after the former president was elected, and she committed to saying, "my friend, Donald Trump," even though it made her skin crawl. She said it again and again, just to remind ourselves that we have a shared humanity, no matter what. The practice of acknowledging the worth and dignity of every person, the practice of compassion and care for all, the practice of extending love into the world is deeply countercultural and so desperately needed. It is the heart and soul of universalism. And we have John Murray to thank for it. And we often think about the miracle story being about his arrival here, that his ship went to ground, the happenstance of him knocking on Thomas Potter's door. And I have delighted in that miracle, in the decades since I have learned it. But recently a colleague noted, she's a historian who teaches at Starr King Theological School in Berkeley, she mentioned that she thinks the real miracle isn't that of the ship grounding. We know it didn't really happen, apparently. But she thinks that the real miracle is that he said yes to preaching at all again. His life had been hard, the loss, the imprisonment, the grief, the trauma, all of it. He was prepared to abandon it all and to escape his prior life and do something completely different. But when asked, he said yes. And yes again, when he was invited to remain as preacher there for 4 years. And yes again to his beloved, who was his partner in his work until his death in the early part of the 19th century. He held on to that faith, that belief, that ultimate trust in a God who would eventually gather all of humanity into a final wholeness that we would call peace. He believed in that ultimate reunion, in love, and in a true heaven. And it was given to him to make it known, to offer that love to all it could reach. And so today, let us celebrate this ancestor of ours. Let's do it by enacting in our clumsy and stumbling ways that essential truth, and all who share the existence with us are at our very essence, everyone is deserving of love and compassion. Who's saved? We all are. Not by some magical and mystical grace laid upon us by a benevolent deity, but we are saved by casting our lot among the community of this planet, the animals and the trees and the oceans no less than our fellow humans. We are saved by knowing for sure that we are all in this together, and the only way to get through is with each other. Let us, in our living day to day, embody this saving faith. May it be so with us all. Amen. And we're singing again. It's here on the Paths of Every Day, number 312, if you want to look in a hymnal. I have done it again. I printed it out. I think it's in there. Look at me. All right. Our closing words by Paul Beatty. May our lives be blessed according to the depth of our love, the persistence of our faith, and our willingness to forgive and be compassionate, and in proportion to our yearning to be free. So may it be with us all today and in the days to come until we are together again. Amen. And now, please let us say the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, or the power of transformation. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Yeah. So we will be doing 2 verses.
It's like 50.
And we're going to start in the key of C and then go up to the key of D if that matters to you. Okay. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost and now am found, was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace has set me free to touch, to take.